Orcust. Maybe you would remember about the prevalence of a certain Android layer sister at your casuals and regionals, because Orcust was a meta Yu-Gi-Oh deck back in 2019 with the key feature of being extremely special due to a certain mermaid. Was that 2 leftover monsters from your combo? That looks like a full Orcust combo to me. Did you start with just 2 Garnets and have a way to put them on the field? Looks like you just got a free Android girlfriend instead. Did you bring a deck full of normal monsters by mistake to the regionals that you were hoping to win just to get some sense of accomplishment in your life? Congratulations, you're getting an invite to Worlds. Back in 2019, you had a choice of playing 4 meta decks, having the very fitting acronym TOSS, which is what your opponent does to the table when he faces your deck. And you had a choice of being a Netbeard Sim, a furry, or an annoying cunt whose main purpose on Earth is to see everything burn. Instead, I chose to be a fucking siscon. And like an incestuous hentai protagonist, the goal was to get to your sister as quickly as possible and get her to start playing with your one.
お兄ちゃんのおちんちん大きいね。
Now, in 2022, hardly anyone talks about this deck as it is now outshined by newer cards which are much more consistent and explosive. Instead, I want to share about this archetype and it might interest you to try it out in Master Duel or in real life. Let's start with some lore. Orcust is part of the World Legacy storyline, like the Albest lore that Konami has been pushing as part of their marketing to get you to buy the next set of expensive cardboard, just because there is some semblance of familiarity between one card and the next. In a quick summary, the world ended, and 3 kids went on a journey to find some MacGuffins known as the World Legacy artifacts. The little fairy mascot that was guiding them was evil and possessed the girl Ip. Ip decided to perform a self-administered bariatric surgery which resulted in a 100% mortality rate. Ningersu, her siscon brother, decided to recreate an android version of her. For some reason, all the tech used by Ningersu are related to music instruments. And I look forward to the next Orcust support featuring Orcust's Scandalous Saxophone. Okay, lore over. Orcust consists of 3 link monsters, 1 Xyz monster, 5 main deck Orcust monsters, 1 supporting World Legacy artifact, 2 spells, and 1 trap. There are actually more spells and traps, but nobody knows what they do because nobody has ever used them. Rumor is that they allow you to lose immediately. Orcust decks focus on sending dark monsters to the graveyard to be used for your own personal and political gain. So let's start with the main deck monsters. 5 of them don't do anything on the field, but get effects in the graveyard, just like how Samantha over here used Grandma's death to get some pity compliments over her social media. When banished, they let you special summon an Orcust monster from somewhere, but in the case of Nightmare, she does literally everything. She gives you an attack boost, she sends any Dark Machine monsters to the graveyard, and she probably manages your finances and does your taxes for you as well. To enable this sociopathic and manipulative behavior of sending dark monsters to their graves, we have Gersu, the Orcust Magnite that sends any Orcust or World Legacy card to the graveyard when summoned. He also has other effects, such as being able to summon a token to both sides of the field to enable more lane climbing and Magnites as a deck. While Nightmare does everything for your finances, Gersu is over here being a single father managing his dysfunctional family of 4 siblings and his set of octuplets. It should instead be called Gersu, the World Chalice Crawler Magnite Nightmare Crusadia Orcust Guard Dragon. By banishing Orcust monsters from the graveyard, you are locked to summoning dark monsters for the rest of the turn. That will be unsurprisingly not a problem since more than a quarter of all monster cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Have dark attribute anyway. Question is, what do we summon? This is where we start using our extra deck and summon some Orcust Link monsters. On the field, each Link monster receives some protection as long as they are linked. For their initial effects, Galatea recycles a banished machine monster to search Orcust spells and traps. Longersu recycles 2 to send an opponent's monster that is linked to the graveyard. And Orcustron is an overpriced Supreme Jacket that is not worth the effort of bringing it out, besides serving to remind everyone of how much of a joke you really are. The last monster here is the rank 8 monster, Dingersu, that requires 2 level 8 monsters to be brought out. Now, you may be wondering, how do you even summon this thing? None of the Orcust monsters are level 8. Maybe you could try using the only 2 World Legacy monsters that are level 8, but that is not the intended way to summon it. Instead, Konami gave this card the alternate summoning condition of just slapping it on top of an Orcust Link monster. Now what does it do then? On the field, it protects your cards from being destroyed by detaching 1 material, but on summon, you choose to either attach a banished machine monster to it, or just send a card your opponent controls to the graveyard. Did you just summon the indestructible Big Dick Thunder Dragon Link 1 monster? Dingersu bypasses all that protection you bought from the convenience store and just fucks you raw. And the best part of its effect, it activates on summon. On summon. Not by being XC summoned from the extra deck, not requiring a prescribed Link monster attached up his butthole like how Bane requires his Venom Toxin. You can get this buster effect by casually bringing him back from the graveyard. Who the fuck greenlit this shit back in 2019? With no more other monsters, now you might be wondering what do their spells and traps do, or at least the useful ones. Let's start with the least broken of the three, which is their Port of Greed. Orchestrated Return lets you send from your hand or field an Orcust or World Legacy monster to draw 2 cards. And since almost all Orcust monsters have an effect in the graveyard, this card sometimes helps you unbreak by sending that pesky Hub Horror from your hand to the graveyard. The next card is their counter trap, Orchestrated Crescendo, that just requires an Orcust Link monster on the field to be activated. A generic negate, just what the deck needed.
The old man say no!
Unsurprisingly by this point, the card also has a graveyard effect, and it lets you search for any Dark Machine monster from your deck or banish power. It lets you recover cards for longer games, but there are also other uses which I will talk about later. The last card, which is by far their most broken card, is their field spell, Orchestrated Babel. It only has 2 very simple effects. The second effect lets you recover it from the graveyard by discarding any card, but the first effect literally breaks the game. It allows the entire Orcust archetype to change from ignition effects into quick effects. What this means is that you can activate Orcust effects during your opponent's turn as well. You can search during your opponent's turn, you can store out your opponent by spamming monsters onto the field, and you can bring back the broken as fuck Dingersu back from the grave to send a card from your opponent's field to the grave. This is not your turn, it's our turn now. With this deck, you could play with quite a few engines or archetypes alongside Orcust. You could play it pure like me, or with Magnites, or even play the Scrap engine to get fridge like how Reina's girlfriend. Regardless, I want to talk about other cards that are commonly played or specific tag cards that are able to be played with Orcust. Remember how Crescendo has an effect relating to Dark Machine monsters and not relating to Orcust specifically? Go and search up all main deck Dark Machine monsters and you just might find something that could be useful for the deck. The most commonly used card is Gizmek Orochi since it serves as an easy to summon body on the board if necessary. However, what I want to talk about are the other options that you could use as well. Do you know that Natural Exterior can negate spells and traps nearly endlessly? You can cheat it out with a Cyberstein. Do you hate Drytrons? Get yourself a Cycle Reader, or maybe remind your opponent about the past 2 years. Or maybe you're tired of seeing traps. Here, have a Jinzo. And if your opponent somehow destroys all of your Dark Machine monsters, remind them about the gambling addiction that they have formed from opening Yu-Gi-Oh packs.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
When it comes to the extra deck, it is usually filled with Dark Attribute monsters due to the summoning restrictions by the Orcust monsters. If possible, you could summon a bunch of monsters well before you use your first Orcust Graveyard effect that locks you into Dark monsters for the rest of the turn. A common play, even outside Orcust decks, is to use 2 monsters to leave an IP Masquerena on the field before passing your turn. This usually requires you to perform Aztec Heart sacrifices to leave multiple bodies on the board in your Undying Worship of an E-Thought. For Orcust decks in particular, you can just ignore all of that and just leave a singular IP Masquerena on the field with no other monsters on the board. That is because you would already have Babel on the field with multiple Orcust monsters primed to go off whenever you need to. You could always go into Nightmare Unicorn like a basic bitch, but I've decided to use other Link monsters. For one, you could summon Topologic Bomber Dragon and recreate the everyday scenery of the Middle East.
Drop it.
Alternatively, you could use Topologic Zeroboros to banish the entire field. There's a reason why I said that every Orcust monster in the graveyard is primed to go off. Every single Orcust monster has just become the Enola Gay, ready to release an atomic bomb over Hiroshima. Now, we are all sons of bitches. Aside from the usual degeneracy of hand traps, floodgates, and solitaire boards, Orcust just needs to be careful of Cyber Dragons. As a Link-focused deck, the Extra Monster Zone is a very special place that your parents told you not to let strangers touch. However, Cyber Dragon players are just going to ignore that and perform a Contact Fusion. Oh, and Orcust are primarily machines, so both Contact Fusions. Here is my current Orcust deck list and Master Duo. It can definitely be modified by changing the attack card split, or if you like, add in another supporting engine. Beyond this, I have compiled a few replays to showcase the deck. I hope that you have enjoyed the video so far and will enjoy the following replays.